Hey everyone, welcome to a little bit of woo woo. I'm Jill Thomas. Today I wanted to do my predictions video for the month of June, but I'm going to start by saying that the energy in June is so chaotic that I feel like what I'm about to say is going to spill more into July as well. So, just take that for what it is. What I may be saying to you may be happening more in June and July because it feels like energetically that June and the first half of July feel really chaotic and similar. So the changes that I'm describing could be in both of those time frames. So first things first, I was going to do a video yesterday, but I didn't get around to it. And I'm glad I didn't because stuff's happened. So I thought that was interesting. Everybody's talking about the Trump conviction that happened yesterday. It's interesting to see that I will say that I got this a little wrong. I thought I saw him getting convicted, but I didn't see him getting convicted on all counts. I also didn't see them getting the conviction that quickly. That happened more quickly than I expected. Having said that, I do think the conviction is going to hold, but I also think that the confusion that's been created is going to be creating a lot of chaos within the Republican Party. You don't need a psychic to tell you that they're all behind closed doors right now discussing what they need to do with their PR firms. They're doing testing right now on polls and all of that. I will say the polls, the official polls that have been released, I don't think the data is accurate. I don't think you need a psychic to tell you. If you just do a little Google search, you'll see that a lot of the people they were polling aren't likely voters, or they're people that didn't vote in the last election at all. So I would just take all of those polls and official data with a grain of salt, because I think a lot of that information is really being manipulated right now. We've talked about this before, particularly with the economic data, but poll data, some of this stuff is just so hard to get an accurate read. And I would take a lot of that stuff with a grain of salt. So back to what the Republican Party is going to do. I feel like they're going to try and figure out or try to work on, and I can see them doing this right now behind closed doors. How can we get rid of this guy, but do it in a way that allows us to gather some of those votes? How can we do it in a way that saves face? So I do think they may come up with a solution by claiming that he's ill and having him pull out. And I don't think that's going to be a lie. I think he is kind of sick. I think his health issues might come to the forefront a little bit more. June and July, one feels a little bit closer to July. Trust me, he doesn't want to leave the race, but I do see that they're going to try and save face and pull him out that way. I can't tell for sure who they're going to replace him with. I feel like it could be Nikki Haley, but I also feel like they're looking at different options because they're wanting to replace like with like. Who are those voters going to resonate with the most, so that they're not taking one person that a certain cohort loves and replacing with somebody that they hate. They want to gather as much as they can. You don't need a psychic to tell you that, but that's what I'm seeing. That's going to be part of the political process. And I think that chaos is going to be part of our conversation in the next 6 weeks. And it will be pulling attention away from some of the other concerns. I think we're going to be talking more about the political issues than we are about the Middle East. And this may be, other factors may see this as an opportunity to pull some shenanigans because all eyes are on this situation, rather than looking at what other countries' bad actors are doing that they really shouldn't be doing. Not going to get too much into that because, frankly, as an intuitive, tuning into the Middle East energy is like tuning into a cesspool of deep, dark energy. I want to take a shower after I look at that every time. So just keep that in mind if you're tooling around trying to tune in yourself. There's something else I wanted to talk about that's been in the news here in Oregon. It's called the Greater Oregon Movement. It's where some of the counties in Oregon want to leave Oregon and join Idaho, some of the more conservative counties. It's an interesting movement. The reason I bring this up now in the context of June and July is because I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this kind of thing in the next few years. I think other people are going to watch this Greater Oregon Movement. Places in Texas, places in Florida, places that don't love their current governorship situation are going to be looking at how can we join maybe the next state over that's a little more conservative or a little bit more liberal. I do see this happening, and I do see some states trying to cut in half. I've said before that I think California may try to split into 2 states. They've already tried this once before. But I do think we're going to be seeing more of that, particularly within the next election. The reason I'm bringing it up now, though, is because this Greater Oregon movement that's happening, Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about, is going to start to bring attention to this type of sentiment among voters, not feeling included. Maybe they're in a state where it's almost all liberal or almost all conservative, and they're not feeling like their voice matters as much. And I get it as a person. I get that. I think you're going to be starting to see more of this. This is why I've said this in the past, that I do think within the next election, the governorship of your state is going to be far more of an important factor on your day-to-day life than the president will. Feel free to disagree with me, but that's how I see it. So pay more attention to your personal governor's race, because that person, I'm seeing a lot more governors. I know this is not really June and July, but just humor me. I'm seeing a lot more governors in different states making headlines by defying federal mandates, creating their own rules, and their constituents largely being happy about that. So look at this and see that, is your governor reflecting your personal values or beliefs, or when you're trying to vote, which side does your governor sit on issues that are the most important to you? Because I do feel, again, back to the day-to-day, that's going to matter a lot more than the president. I'm happy to be wrong on this, but that's what I'm seeing. The other thing I'm seeing, I don't think there's going to be debates. I really don't. I'm so sorry to say that. I hope I'm wrong, because I would love to watch those. But I know there's a couple of debates scheduled. I just don't think those are going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth. You know, the podium's too high, the podium's too low, there's no drug test. I think there's going to be a lot of that kind of silliness on both sides. So I just don't think they're going to happen. But I'm happy to be wrong. I'm really happy to be wrong, because I would enjoy watching those as a connoisseur of human folly. I would enjoy that and appreciate it in a whole new level. But that's the last I'm going to say on politics, because I know YouTube's already going to ding me for what I just said. I want to go to the economy. I wanted to talk a little bit about inflation. I know people are really concerned about that. I want to tell you that some of the data that we've just been handed is just simply not true. It's been misled. You as a person know how you feel, or what the sentiment is in the office place. Are people scared of losing their jobs? Pay more attention to that kind of stuff than the sort of story and narrative that's being made to try to get the elected officials reelected, or to try and change the elected officials. I want you to just pay attention to your personal feeling instead. Having said that, I see a lot of people saying, I've had enough of this. I'm not going to be worried about money all the time anymore. I'm going to make some changes. That part of it I see being very positive, because people are going to start to reevaluate every little penny. I've said this before, but I do see a lot of that happening in June and July. People really looking at finances, because they're looking at their vacation options and saying, okay, maybe we're not going to Disneyland. Maybe instead our vacation is going to be the park down the street, and we're going to have to walk there because gas is $17 a gallon. It's not going to be that much. I'm just making that number up. But I do see gas prices fluctuating up and down this summer. I do see some of that, the travel opportunities. I think you're going to get some deals if you decide you want to fly, although I'm not sure that I would want to. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of delays and a lot of challenges. But I would say, if you are going to be flying, check the price of first class. Just check it. Humor me on this one. You'd be surprised. I feel like a lot of those tickets haven't been sold, and you might get some deals. So I will say personally, I was a little surprised to find on one flight that we went on, it was Alaska Airlines. I love Alaska. I'm just going to say it. It was like $50 more to get a first class ticket, which meant extra legroom. And my husband's really tall. So just pay attention to that, because if you have extra coin, you are going to find some deals. There's going to be some nice deals this summer on travel. There's going to be some good hotel deals, but you may need to wait until the last minute. But again, don't listen to my word on this. This is for entertainment purposes. If you're feeling like you need to schedule that hotel at Disneyland actually, you wouldn't need to schedule that. Go ahead and do it. But just know that I'm seeing intuitively that there's going to be some deals if people wait, because some of these hoteliers are going to realize that it's July and their hotel should be full, and it's not. So start to look at things like that. The other thing I'm seeing is, again, you don't need a psychic for this, but the fluctuation of the dollar is going to start to get wider and more radically different in June and July. I see the dollar going up and down quite a bit. Now, by quite a bit, 2 or 3% is kind of the range that you're not talking about like 20% here, but it is enough so that if you're purchasing products from overseas, you might find yourself in some days in a better situation than others. So if you're someone who has a business that imports product, you probably already do this, but you're going to want to watch the dollar, especially when it goes against the euro or the yuan or the yen, because there's going to be some times when you're going to get some deals and sometimes when you're going to be like, what? I need to wait a couple of weeks just to see how this plays out. I do see a lot of wild fluctuation, and it's going to have to do with oil. Some confusion is going to happen about housing market. So I've talked about this before. Look, again, entertainment purposes, I am not a real estate agent or a lawyer, but I will tell you, I wouldn't buy a house right now. And I'm just going to say anecdotally, one of the reasons, the confusion that's happened over the NAR lawsuit about how commissions are going to be paid to real estate agents is going to cause a lot of derailment of deals. Anecdotally, I asked a real estate agent, how do I pay you to look at a house? I just wanted to get some idea. Like, how does this work? So if I want to go look at a house on Granite Street, how do I pay you to show me the house? And the answers were so vague. And I asked a couple of real estate agents because I wanted to, literally, that's a real thing. If I want to go look at the house on Granite Street, how do I pay you? And, well, I'm going to get paid. Don't worry about that. No, I want to get clear in writing before we get started. How do you get paid for this? Nobody had a good answer. It was very vague. I'm going to get paid. It's going to be from the buyer, or maybe it's going to be a little bit from the seller, but that's going to happen either way. People are trying to write that script right now. Real estate agents trying to write that script. And if you're a real estate agent, please figure out how you're going to get paid. Come up with a dollar amount to tell the person and get that stuff in writing, because that confusion is going to cause people to lose customers. If you're the person who has it all set up and you've got your contract already ready, I get paid $25 an hour, whatever your number is. I will show you so many houses for $100. Get that ready, because the real estate agents that have that paperwork already in place and can answer that question articulately are going to have more customers than the ones who are very vague about it and are saying, well, I'm just going to get paid, but don't worry about it. Nobody wants to hear don't worry about it anymore. They want to hear it all spelled out. So I think we're going to be seeing, I feel like the housing market this summer is going to crater. It's going to be different in each marketplace because there's a lot of new inventory coming to the market. I was just visiting another city and I was shocked to see how many new houses were being built, because that's not happening where I live. But it was stunning, like acres and acres of just houses everywhere and apartments. There's a lot of that stuff coming on, and that is definitely going to affect the marketplace. So bottom line, I'm not going to buy a house this summer, but if you feel like it's a good idea for you, then great. As Tall Mike, I don't know if you guys watched that show. As Tall Mike would say, it's gonna go down, but not in your marketplace. In your place, it's gonna go up. So just keep that in mind as you're looking around. So I talked about travel a little bit. I am seeing a lot of delays. I am seeing a lot of confusion, a lot of canceled flights, a lot of consolidating of flights because people aren't traveling as much, and these flights are getting. There's just not enough tickets sold, so they'll cancel it and say there was a mechanical. I am seeing more of that kind of thing. I don't know if people are remembering the Olympics are coming. That's going to happen the end of July. That's still happening. So I do think that's going to be less attended than some of the other ones. Certainly not as badly attended as the ones during the pandemic. But I am seeing there's going to be less travel for the Olympics, not just because the price of fuel and the price of tickets, but because of the conflict events happening around the world. People are just not feeling as safe going to a foreign country and feeling like, do we really want to be watching this stuff when there's so much conflict in the Middle East right now, and a lot of incentive for organizations, bad actors, to do bad things in a public forum. And I also want to talk about you personally, what you personally need to look at for June and July. Energetically, what it looks like to me, it looks like a tornado. You're standing in the middle of it. There's lots of opportunities, options, different ideas floating around. And this is your time to reach out and grab a couple. There's a lot of new energy churning, new ideas churning. People are getting inspired right now to do different things. A lot of them are inspired by the not nice stuff that's happening. I don't want to live like this. I don't want this to be a part of my reality anymore. I want you personally to start looking at different ideas and options, things you've been thinking about things that maybe you didn't think you could do. I have clients right and left and center who are like, I've been holding on to this idea, I've been working on this for a couple of years. I think I might start making some action and some movement on it. Now is really the time, because this chaotic energy is going to make it easier to take action. And I'm seeing energetically, I see that happening all of June and the first half of July. And I feel like things are going to start to calm down a little bit the second half of July. I'm not an astrologer, so I would just be willing to bet money that there's something astrologically happening, because energetically, I see all of this movement happening for the next 6 weeks. This is being recorded on the 31st at 9 a.m. Pacific. So take that for what it is. But I do see a lot of movement happening. So you as a person are being asked right now to step out of the shadows, start taking actions toward the goals. People are going to be shifting direction. People are going to be not as much shifting direction. Some people are not going to be shifting direction as much as they're just going to be adding to what they're already doing. I do see people adding products to their offerings. If you have a business, I do see people trying to do things in new ways, maybe ways that are more affordable for a cohort. If you have a service, maybe kind of figuring out if you can do it in a way that is cheaper, that is more available to everyone. Figuring that out, but I do see a lot of people getting very inspired, getting the ball rolling, and things happening fairly quickly. The other thing I want to say on that, though, is with all of this chaos, you are going to be seeing some shifting in your relationships. So some of you, some of you, it's going to be about politics, frankly. Some of you are going to find yourself, you're not conservative enough for your conservative friends. You're not liberal enough for your liberal friends. And you're finding yourself going, where do I fit? I do see a lot of clients who are feeling that way too. In general, if we as people can say we disagree and still be friends, that would actually be the better way to go, because I think there's a lot of people pulling themselves out of one political situation or another and finding themselves in the middle. And saying, well, I agree with a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I don't really like this other stuff. And those people are feeling disillusioned and like there's no place for them. And I think a lot of friendships are getting challenged because of this, because the passions with this particular election are so intense and so angry. There's so much anger out there that is going to be causing friction. And I'm seeing this with clients. The call that I'm getting as a psychic reader is that people are saying, I don't know what happened. Susie won't talk to me anymore. My sister won't hang out with me anymore. I don't know what's going on, but that's what I'm hearing a lot of. So just understand that if you're in that position, you're in really good company, because that's probably half of my clients right now as a reader. The last thing I want to talk about is the stock market. I put it last because some of you guys just aren't interested in that. The stock market right now is really being run by FOMO and people getting excited about things. It's not necessarily being run by fundamentals. So you're going to be seeing a lot of volatility within the stock market. And I know it's not helpful information if I can't give you a timeline, but I am just seeing a lot of up and down. I do think we are going to eventually possibly have another all-time high, but I also see a correction coming. Now, when I say correction, maybe I'm not talking about like 25%, I'm talking about like 10% or something that's very, very easily predicted, possibly. I'm suggesting that you not let yourself get caught up in fear of missing out, because that fear of missing out causes this anxiety that causes you to make decisions that may not be so sensible. As a hypnotherapist, I've actually worked with a lot of stock traders over the years, and I can tell you the most successful ones approach this without emotion. They use their intuition, but they don't use a lot of emotion. They don't allow what's going on in the news to make them feel that they should make one transaction or another, even though the news is what the unsophisticated buyer uses to purchase stocks. It does move the marketplace, but I want you to understand that FOMO, that anxious feeling, is usually an indication you need to step back and take a look at it and make a more logical decision. It's always a good idea to use a financial planner. It's always a good idea to get expert advice on this kind of stuff. I would highly recommend that, because it is very easy, as someone who doesn't understand how this game is being played and how you're being played as the character in this play, somebody who doesn't understand, to get caught up and make a bad decision. So I would highly recommend getting advice before making some massive move, like going all in on any investment right now. Stocks and bonds, If the question is, are they going to go up and down? Yes, they are. They absolutely are. And we're going to be seeing a lot of that in the next 6 weeks. I do see some calming though after, I want to say, the middle of July, and it might have to do with the Olympics. I just see this like kind of calming happening within the country, and this little bit of slowing down that happens every summer. So I hope that was helpful. I would ask if you have any questions, if there's anything you want on a future version of this, put it in the comments. Please like and subscribe, because that really helps me out, or even just say something nice in the comments. I would really appreciate that. That, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me out. So thank you so much. So I hope you enjoyed this and have a great weekend. Bye for now. Bye.